Great. Just by way of introduction, yeah, I'm a Chief Revenue Officer at Valiant. We're an AI software company for manufacturers. Previously, I've been a VP of sales or a sales leadership role at a number of different startup companies. Luckily, a couple of them have done well, either been acquired or gone to that final round of getting public funding and going public. So it's been a long journey, and it's been a lot of fun. I definitely know the value of sales enablement and working together. The challenging thing is I keep joining startups, and when you're really small, you can't afford sales enablement, so you're doing it yourself, and that's when you really recognize, gosh, I wish I had my sales enablement team from the bigger company I was at. So, do you want to go through the questions?
Yeah, so first one, it's got 2 upvotes here. What kind of data or results do you need to see from enablement in order to justify growth of an enablement team?
That is a great question because it really does boil down to ROI, right? As I was preparing for this and we were going to have 2 of us on stage, we were going to discuss that. And it was about the number of ideas that are out there. I mean, just outside as you walked in, there are so many great vendors, of which Amber works for one, that have just wonderful applications that sales enablement can use to make your people better, faster, stronger, more productive. The challenge is there's not enough money, not enough time to go after all of them, right? And so what I usually do with when I'm either taking on the role myself up front or when I'm working with sales enablement is we start to prioritize on which one's going to be the highest ROI, right? And so as we start to see an ROI from the decisions and the bets that we make, we then can say, all right, we decided that we wanted to go, let's say we want to do something like spec it. And we decided to enable our team, just-in-time learning management, something like that. Or we decided to do ShowPad, and we decided to give customers a portal where they could look at our information. If there was an ROI and we can prove it, we can then say to the CEO or to the board, if we have to go there, and ask for more funding to grow the team. If we don't show an ROI, we better quickly find some other areas where we can do it, because that is really the best, in my experience, way to grow the sales enablement organization. Any follow-on questions to that one? Okay.
All right, next question. If you are at a company that doesn't have a sales enablement team and no budget for one, what would be your first steps?
So I'm living that right now, and it's challenging, right? We are a startup, a couple of years of existence. We've gotten our seed funding, but not our Series A yet. Usually, it's about the Series A time or past when a company can get the sales enablement organization going. So right now, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to do some of the things that certainly I was visiting the booths and learning more today. And it's interesting because I keep comparing people to other companies that I've used in the past. And they're like, yeah, but we're better. And I'm like, all right, if you can prove that to me and you can show me how I can start to grow that organization. So the first thing I do is I try, again, prioritize what are the things my team needs. Because we were starting selling prior to me joining, and they were inefficient. And so one thing we brought in was, and apologies for saying it, but Apollo. Apollo is great for looking up people's contact information and sequencing them. Now, there's a vendor out there that does a really good job and has better data, better information, so probably look at them as well. But it was great because I got the BDR team now becoming more efficient, more effective, right? And they were like, wow, they hadn't thought about that, and they were sending all emails manually. So just a really quick way, all of a sudden we're getting more meetings for the sales reps, sales team's getting a lot happier, and obviously the CEO is happy with that too. So that was one of the first things I decided to institute. The next thing was automation for LinkedIn outbound, right? Figuring out that, and if we create more connections, it might be a softer way for either myself in my role or for the salespeople, not the BDRs, to actually start reaching out to folks. And again, getting more meetings. More meetings equates to more revenue. That's what we're here for. And so that is certainly a way that you kind of build a groundswell. You pick a couple of areas you know you have to do, and then eventually you say, look, I'm too busy. We got to have a sales enablement team take this over and take it to the next level. So that when you got a company about this size, you really have to, again, justify it, show your CEO, look, we decided to make some actions here that really the sales enablement organization should be doing, and that we need this person, these people on our staff to make us that much better.
Awesome. During times of economic uncertainty, where do you think enablement can have the greatest impact?
These are all great questions. I'm going to go back to efficiency and effectiveness, right? In these times when it seems like people are having a hard time opening up their wallets to spend because of uncertainty, sometimes we have to scale back, right? And sometimes we have to make those decisions, which are tough in the organization, and we let go of some good folks. Sales enablement then needs to, at that time, kind of pick up the pieces and do the best that they can with what's left, right? Really making sure the survivors have all the materials, the playbook, the coaching, the different applications that you think are the right tech stack for your organization. Make sure that they all have them, they know how to use them, because just having something and not using it, early on when we got this outbound sequencing, that's what we'll call it, and I was looking at the outbound results and I compared it to what paid interns were doing at a former company I was at, I was aghast, and I said to my team, hey, we're not using this technology to our full capability, and if we're not going to use it to our capability, we're either going to lose the technology, go back to manual, or we're going to find people that will use it. And so utilizing the technology, enabling the team that is remaining in this time period, and making sure that they are as effective as possible is the best way to have impact in the organization.
I'm going to skip down to the bottom one that just came in because it's similar to this. And how do we keep enablement relevant in tougher times like now and really make the case for it from a revenue perspective?
Yeah, I would say that every CRO I talk to recognizes the value of sales enablement. I have friends that won't go to an organization at an early stage because they want to have maybe someone they've worked with for a long time be hired at the same exact time as them. And they're like, I won't do a series less than A or a seed company because it's just too small and don't want to do it themselves. I kind of enjoy the getting things launched, and I love building. But one of the first things you'll find is, I think if you have CRO friends, and sometimes we all make changes. If you want, make changes with them, obviously. But the value is there, and I think that any CRO that doesn't see the value, maybe that's not the CRO to be working for, because, sales enablement is key and critical to making sure the organization is as effective as possible, especially in tougher times like now.
As a CRO, how are you connecting the dots between enablement and ops to ensure they're delivering the results you want?
Yes. All right. So I'll go to a point where I was at a company that had more money, and we did have sales enablement. We were able to track pretty efficiently how quickly we could get new reps onboarded, how quickly we could get them efficient and effective, like selling. And we could do that, and we could actually measure it over time and see the sales enablement strategies that we put in, the new technologies, the new training, the new coaching, the new playbooks that we put together. We could see if that was helping to shorten the timeline of A, people starting to get productive enough they can make calls, get sales meetings, but B, bring revenue into the organization. And that's really when you're connecting the dots, right? Is when you've got this idea of, hey, we've got to enable folks, we've got to keep improving it. We've got operations and metrics to make sure that we're tracking it, bring it together, and then starting to analyze when are people efficient, when are they productive, and how are we shorting that cycle so people are, A, more effective on the whole and at a faster time duration. That's really how you bring it together.
What is the top priority enablement can provide to support a CRO?
Top enablement. Well, I started with some of my favorites when I started on my own. Certainly getting the BDR team more efficient, more effective. That's one. So certainly an outbound, investigating who your ICP is, and then starting sequences to go to them. That's key, critical. You got to do it no matter where you are. Number two, probably most important, is then knowledge transfer and learning. So setting up the sales playbook, helping the CRO, or in my case, I'm actually building that for my organization right now. The first version of the playbook, not going to be as good as it is 12 months from now, 24 months from now. Hopefully I'll hire a great sales enabler and we'll make it much, much better. But that is a key first step thing that you've got to take at an organization. And then the third area that I oftentimes look at is like different technology to improve our ranking as an organization. So I work with the marketing team on SEO optimization. I work with the marketing team on making sure that we're doing things to not have to spend, pay-per-click, but having some organic growth and having people on my team actually help marketing write articles, blogs, things like that. So we start to generate interest in the engine of us. And then the fourth thing is, as we're increasing our volume and metrics outbound, we've used some technology to clean up our score. Think of it as like a FICO score. Once you have a bad credit history, it kind of just gets worse. Once you have a good one and you keep improving it, it can get better. If you do that with your actually outbound strategy, that you can get it so that your emails land up on the inbox instead of the junk folder or the whatever folder the company has set up. And that's really key because if your people are sending a bunch of outbound emails and they're well crafted and they're being delivered because you're getting good email addresses, but no one's seeing them because they're in their junk folder, who checks that these days, it's kind of just a wasted effort.
What skills do you think will be most crucial for those in enablement in 2023?
I think always communication is up at the top. The ability to communicate upward to whoever your boss is at your organization, but then to communicate outward to everybody that you're enabling is probably the number one key thing that we look for. Number two is somebody that just has that can do it, willing to try and experiment type of attitude, and really loves to be on the front end of how do we make ourselves better. So I'm looking for somebody that has a learning, glass is never, was it half full or never full? It's never full, but you're always trying to fill it up, right? And have good communication skills. Those are kind of the two key things that I'm always looking for in my first hire.
Sorry, they keep
It's all right.
moving around on me. Here it is. Do you ever anticipate putting a cap on investment in enablement? And at what point does the growth of enablement exceed ROI, if ever?
Yeah, that's a great question too. As long as we're showing and proving ROI, and when you get to a certain size, as the sales enablement organization grows, some of this responsibility would go away from me and go onto them, that they need to prove their existence. And then I would manage it like I would manage a business and say, okay, you're the leader of the sales enablement team, you work for me. If hopefully my company gets to that point in the next couple of years, why don't you pitch to me why you need to grow your organization, right? And so you want that person to have, the confidence, the communication skills to upwardly be excited about it and take on that challenge of, well, look, if we had this person or another person, we'd be able to do X, Y, or Z, and that would help us grow. And then again, if you have a CRO that believes in making the team better and keeping enabling, and that's obviously part of coaching and training and everything that gets me excited to work with sales teams, those are the things that if you can prove that you're adding value, you're adding ROI, I would say most CROs would say, yeah, I'll go to the CEO and fight for budget approval because here's the direct linkage to our revenue as a company.
That second question up there is very similar to what you just answered. So I'm going to skip to the next one. Sales playbooks mean different things to different people. What does it mean to you and what goes into it?
I've had sales playbooks like the one we have right now that are very light. I'm building it out. We didn't have it before. We've changed the demo script. We've enabled our team on saying like, hey, these are the key industry terms you need to know. It's very, very light. I've been at organizations where people were MBO'd a very large bonus. Sales reps, new sales reps were MBO'd to get the playbook done in their first 60 days. And it almost took 60 days to get through the playbook because it was so in depth. Now that organization is much larger, darn near going public. And I had joined it as a leader, but I wasn't the initiator of it. And I did realize that it was too much. And so the funny thing is, I could analyze on my team, because I hired a number of folks that year, the folks that were worried about just getting the $5,000 bonus and getting enabled didn't do as well as the people that dove into the playbook, didn't cover it as well. Maybe sometimes I had to remind them, hey, you're at risk of getting your $5,000 bonus, but they were actually in weeks 2 or 3 outbound prospecting and creating meetings. So that was a case where we had really great enablement, but it was too much. And again, if your people are saying, this is what I'm driven by, I'm going to get the enablement done, I'm going to get that bonus, and I'm going to do it so well, I'm going to focus all my time, they're probably missing the real goal, which is creating revenue for the organization, right? And so it was a really interesting also mindset for me to think about, okay, this is too big of a playbook, so when I do it again at my own company, I've got to somehow have a mid-level. So the mid-level is definitely not where I'm at right now, right? Just creating it, but not so much that you've got to allocate 60 days and incent somebody $5,000 in order to get through it. There's a middle ground there. There has to be.
Awesome. And shameless plug, I have a workshop on scaling enablement with agile playbooks at 2:00. So if you want to learn how to avoid that.
Thank you,
Just
Amber.
kidding. All right. So next question on here. If enablement doesn't report to sales, how do you ensure you still have the alignment needed to support your revenue teams without stepping on toes?
At most organizations I've been at, I have convinced the CEO that enablement reports into sales. Okay, I'm glad you like that. Sometimes it goes into marketing, sometimes HR, other areas. For me personally, that's not what I like. This is key, this is critical to getting the sales team successful. Sales and sales enablement go hand in glove, right? They need to work together collaboratively. I see the value of it. I would never, ever want to try to attempt to do all the things that you do for much longer than the first 6, 9, 12 months on the job, and hopefully we've grown fast enough that we can do that. So I go back, not this company, but the last company I was at, I was their very first seller. So I was their VP of sales, but I was the only person in sales. So I was closing deals, and then as we closed deals, we started hiring people, and then 9 months into it, we hired finally somebody for sales enablement. They reported into me, and it was a great coexistence. That's where I see it fitting the best.
All right. What are your expectations for enablement? Oh, no, I already asked you that one, I think. Yep. Okay, I think that was the last question that came through. Does anybody have one
Any
that
other
they want to share?
questions or follow-ups? We had this really cool presentation. I'm so sorry Dan got sick. I'm Dan. He's Dan. Hopefully I'm healthy because I haven't met him in face-to-face, but we really, really appreciate your time, and I hope that, answer some of your questions. If you have more and you want to ask me one-on-one, I am dan.adams@valiant.io. Okay? Thank you.